Look at this, the perfect little link. You can use it to make bracelets, necklaces, earrings, all sorts of things. Yeah, so we're going to learn how to make this today, and then we're going to make the partner to this little earring. So stay tuned. So how cute is this little link? Absolutely cute, cute, cute. I really like it, and I've been making all sorts of things with mine. I love a charm bracelet. Look at that, gorgeous for charms. You can use them for all sorts of things. Yeah, I like that. The beads that I used for this actually are from the Check Beads exclusive boxes. So if you want to have a look at their subscription box, I'll put a link in the description box for you so you can have a look. But we're going to make some earrings today based on these lovely little links. So I'm going to make something similar to these, but with some sparkles, like so. Okay, so let's get going. I'll put a list of all the materials that you need to make these cute little things in the description box as well, but we'll just head straight on into it, I think. What do you think? So I'm going to take my 1mm, that's 18 gauge bare copper wire. You can use anything you like. Bare copper wire I like because I love the colour and I just like the way it looks on my skin tone. I think it suits lots of people's skin tones, to be fair. Okay, so each one of these links takes approximately 12 centimetres of wire. I'm going to make 2 on the camera, and then should you choose to follow both, then that's fine. If you just want to, fast forward, that's entirely up to you. I'll leave that up to you. I won't be offended either way. Right, so let's make this. So I'm using my 6-step bell making plier. So for your information, it's 2mm down to 9mm. The principle is the same. If you have a 3 to 10, you just need a slightly longer, maybe by a centimetre, 13 centimetres of wire instead. So let's get going and have a look at this. Cute. Right, so I'm going to be using the 5th step on my plier, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I think is a 7mm mandrel. Now I'm right-handed, so obviously do everything back to front. I'm going to place the wire about 1/4 of the way down. Well, is that about 1/3? In between 1/4 and 1/3, I don't know, fractions, honestly. And then take the long wire, bend that right round. You've made these figure of 8 type sort of components before, haven't we? So, nothing new. It's just I thought they were really cute with these little scrolls on either side. Turn it over, place the mandrel as close as you can to where it crosses, and then bend back over the top so that you have both of the wires next to each other on the top, if that makes sense. Can you see that? Both of the wires next to each other. Yeah. So when I'm doing it, when I've been making these, I've been doing it in like a production line around, because I think if you do it production line, you get like more consistent shapes, but that's entirely up to you. Flip it over so that the long wire is underneath. Pop it back on the mandrel and wind it back round over the top and just sort of fettle it if you need to. There we are. So you'll find that one side is slightly longer than the other. I've made quite a few of these and I still can't work out how to make those equidistant. It is just the way it is. If you can tell me, then tell me. And then we'll go from there. Right, so I'm going to take my plier with like a flat, it's got quite a wide flat plate here, and I'm just going to hold the loop so that this length of wire is underneath, and I'm just going to bend it over the top like this, and then do the same with the other side over the top. So again, we've made these before, haven't we, for clasps and things like that? Yeah, just do the same with the other side. Grasp, bend over the top, turn it over, grasp it and bend it over the top. Now, if it starts raining, I shall have to just continue because it's weird weather here today in the northwest of England. Very, very, very strange indeed. Right, so here we have our little loop things. Now I'm going to measure 2 centimeters, which that about is, and then 2 centimeters from the joint, you know, or you can do it from the center. It's up to you, as long as these are equal. So just cut, make sure you flush cut both sides. That's just about right. And then about, you know, 2 centimeters. There we go. So everything is equal. Can you see? There we go. Equal, equal. Right, so this is where we come in with the round nose pliers. And what I do is, you can see that when you put your figure of 8 on the table, you can see that these arms here go in a diagonal. They're not straight, they go in a diagonal. So when I do the scroll, I scroll away from the diagonal slope. Yeah, so I'm going to go the opposite direction. So just place your plier, and I do it on both sides. We're going to snip that end off so that we get a nice round loop, hopefully. So you'll find that these go in opposite directions. So just start off. So can you see how they're going in opposite directions? And then I'm just going to snip just 2-3 millimeters off either end, because that helps us to get a nice circular coil scroll. Pop your pliers back in, and then this is like in the wrist, isn't it? So we start to wind it around. If it crosses over slightly, don't panic. That's it, just come in with your plier, like so. And then the same again. So we just want to make a nice scroll, a nice sort of coil scroll type thing. Yeah, and then if it needs to be fettled a little bit. Yeah, so that's what we have. And then I just use my thumbs just to push these down slightly, just to sort of lock things in place. So let's do another one. Where's the other one gone? Here it is. So 2 centimeters on either length, and then away we start our coil or arc, scroll, whatever you want to call it. And with a nice motion of the wrist, and then come in and just finish it off. Really, really simple, but super effective. So you can leave them like this if you choose, or you can leave them sort of circular like this, you know, with the wire being circular, you see? Or then you can come in, I'll show you the difference, with your hammer, and you can hammer these sides of the loops just to give it a little bit of texture, which is what I did when I made this lovely little charm bracelet, you see? So I put a little bit of a hammer on, just gives it a little bit of, you know, a little bit of texture. Really cute, huh? Okay, so let's take our little piece here and make some earrings. So what I've done is I've taken some 0.4. I just think these look really, really elegant in the ear. So I'm just going to cut some 0.4 off. I'm going to suggest about 30 centimeters. Reason being is because we've got a bit of wrapping to do, and then I'm going to make some little loops with my pliers to dangle things off. Yes, so I'm going to suggest 30. You probably won't need 30, so between 25 and 30 centimeters, 12 inches, something like that. And this is where we come in and start to wrap. So let me just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 wraps to start with on one side. So make them, obviously, if you're making earrings, you need to make sure that you do the same amount of wraps on either side, or else, well, I mean, you don't have to, of course. Everything is up to you. Don't forget, these are just ideas. Oh gosh, ideas for you. So don't worry, you know, however you like. Pop a bead in, do whatever you want. So I'm just going to secure that there. So that's 2 wraps. I'm just going to go round, do it quickly, because you've done this kind of thing before, no doubt. 3, 4. Just going to bunch those up. Use your pliers, or if you're like me with very strong hands, you can use those. So that's 6 and 7. Yeah, I might as well just do it on camera because we're nearly there. 8, 9, 10. Pull this out of the way if you need to, this little guy here, just to make things fit in. 11. Right, so at this point, have a look at your piece. So you might get away with 11, because obviously, you know, you don't have to put 12 in if 11 will fit. So just as long as you've got equal on this side to that side. But what you want to find out is, you place it on the table. We're going to be putting a little loop. Let me see if I can find something to point with. We're going to be putting a little loop here, and then we're going to be putting a little loop on either side. So I'm going to do another wrap there. How many was that? Was that 12? Let me count. 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 11. 11 should be sufficient. So I'm going to turn it away from me now, because we're going to put these little loops in. Okay, so let me find my round nose pliers. Works best with round nose pliers. Place the tip of your round nose pliers. You want all these to be the same size. So if you want to mark it with a Sharpie, then you can do. I often do, like this. I'm going to wind the wire around the tip of the plier, and then just pop it through the loop. Make sure not to get everything kinked up if you can help it. And then holding everything nice and tight, pull. So that, as you can see, we have a little loop there. Can you see that? Just make sure it's all tight and neat. And then I'm going to do 2 more wraps just to secure everything, whilst I'm still holding on. And then I know that nothing's going to misshape, yeah? I say yeah a lot, don't I? Strange when you're recording, you sort of repeat yourself, but never mind. I'm sure you'll forgive me. There we go. So we have 2 wraps after our little loop here. So I want to do another one, which should be right down at the bottom, in line with your design. So hold it there, and then wrap around and through. So because I'm filming, I have to just angle my hand slightly so I don't bash the camera. It'd be easier for you when you're doing it at home. And then pull. So can you see here, we've got another little loop. Make sure it's the same size as your first one. And then back in for 2 more wraps. Still holding on with your pliers here, because it just gives you some stability and makes sure that you don't lose the shape of your little loop. Yeah, I think you know, if you let go, then you know, you might find that these little guys aren't the same size or shape indeed. So that's the next one. Can you see? And then we'll go in for number 3. Now don't forget, there's a little bit of room for manoeuvre here, so you can squish things around a little bit if you have to when you've finished wrapping. So let's go in for our first wrap. Pull. Actually, yeah, 30 centimetres I think is going to be too much, but you know what? It's fine. You can always use your scraps for other things, so maybe 25, 20 centimetres would be fine. But again, like I say, I'll pop everything, you know, correctly in the description box. But you know, don't forget, I'm not an expert, and I'm just showing you what I've been making this week. So there we have our 3 little loops. Can you see how cute they are? So we can hang dangly things off here. So I mean, if you wanted to do 5 even, you could, 1 on either side at the sides to make 5. That's fine. So let's do, so that's 1, 2, so we need 9 more wraps. But just very carefully hold on to your piece whilst you're doing this final bit of wrapping. That's 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, and then 5. I might as well just stay on the camera whilst we do this. Yeah, because, you know, stopping and starting when you're editing is hard work all the time. So as long as you don't mind listening to me chatting to you. What's the weather like where you are? Let me know in the comments. It's been 4 seasons in one day here today. So I tried to start filming earlier and the heavens opened and it was impossible, because the roof of my conservatory is quite loud when it's raining. Beautiful in the summertime, not so much in the autumn and the spring. So how many do we have here? There we go. 1 more, I think. Yeah, I think 30 centimetres is probably too much, but if you've been watching me for long enough, you'll know that I do err on the side of caution and use a little bit too much, don't I? So not to worry. Yeah, 20 centimetres would be fine. So snip off. I've not been drinking, I promise. Snip off at the back like this. And then come in with your tiny needle nose, if you have some, and just give that a bit of a squish, just to make sure that everybody is happy. Where is it? There it is, glasses. I do have my readers on, but I'm still struggling. Time to visit the opticians again, I think. Right, so as you can see here, we have our little unit. But we've wrapped these cute little loops onto it, where we're going to suspend some pretty beads. Yes, so I'm going to just replicate what I've done here, and we've got a cute little pair of chandeliers. But like I say, you can hang, you know, anything you like off these. The red ones are very pretty. So let's come in with a little droplet. Again, I'm going to use 0.4, and I'm also going to use 3mm jump rings. So I will just cut those off. As an aside, if you're interested in learning how to make jump rings really affordably and without all the fancy pants equipment, I'll leave a card up here somewhere to a video that I made a while ago showing you how to make these. But these are just tiny little 3mm jump rings. So let's come in with our 0.4. Did I use 0.4? I think I did. Yes, I did. Can't remember. I do have a little notebook that I write everything in. Shall I show you? When I'm making things, I'm trying to come up with designs and things like that, you know. So that was from the ring the other day. It's always handy to have a little notebook, and then when you're making things, if you forget, then you can go back, can't you? So let's make the middle dangle, shall we? So we cut off a length. That's probably a bit too much, but hey ho. it doesn't matter. So, you know, you can make these little briolets as easily as you like. There are very, very, very various ways of making these. I'm not hugely brilliant at this. I know there are lots of wonderful wire artists out there that are much better at this than me, you know. So just going to wrap that around. Hold on to that, oops, and start wrapping that bit around there. And then I just cut that part off. And then we hold and we wrap around like this. You can make them scrappy, you can make them neat, you know, entirely up to you. I don't mind either way. I don't mind either way. Just tuck that little guy in there. There we go, that'll do. I'm happy with that. You know, not perfect, but then nothing ever is. Certainly not when you're doing it on camera. I'm sure there's lots of you will be able to tell me how to do that properly. Please do so. So let us pop that on. There we go. Fingers and thumbs today, my friends. Fingers and thumbs. So you can wrap however, you know, wrap whatever you like, pop on whatever you like. That's actually back to front, but never mind, it doesn't matter because they've got sides on them, these, but I don't suppose it matters very much. And then I'm going to just get a couple of tiny little lilac covered beads like that. And with the remains of my 4mm, I'm just going to make two little knotted head pins. Really easy to make. There we go. Where's my nylon jaw? That's fine. So this 0.4 didn't go to waste, did it? There we are. So that's a knotted head pin. Let's make another one. And we can just attach these. I hope you enjoy making these little guys. They're so cute. And like I say, you can make all sorts of things with them. I was just in a mind to make myself some earrings and a charm bracelet. I do like a good charm bracelet. So let's pop our little bead on. And let's make a little wire wrap charm here. Real sweet, real small. Doesn't have to be anything super fancy, does it? Doesn't have to be fancy pants anything, unless you want it to be. Nothing wrong with fancy pants. I own a couple of pairs myself. You got any fancy pants? Where's the other one? Tell me how fancy your pants are. Let's just pop that on there. So how easy was that? But you guys will really enjoy making these links. Make sure that you let me know in the comments what you actually end up making, because I'd love to know. In fact, with that in mind, if you want to share what you've been making, come and join our private Facebook group. It is private, so, you know, very safe in there. I'm a huge fan of safe spaces for all sorts of reasons. notwithstanding the fact that my mental health would struggle if people were mean. So, you know, be kind and helpful. So it's a really nice group actually. So let's pop these on. And then we're nearly there. We'll pop those on there. Close that up. Like I say, you can hang anything you like off these. Anything you like at all. Paddles, you know, longer dangles. I do like a chandelier earring, but I think this is a compromise. It's kind of a chandelier, but a very small chandelier. So a chandelier for a very small house. So there we go. Make sure everything is equal. If it's not, you can just bring that down slightly on one side with your fingers. Just make sure that everyone's happy. There we go. They look nice and equal, don't they? So the last thing you need to do is just to come in with your little ear wire and pop that on there. And I really hope that you've enjoyed spending a few minutes with me today whilst we've made these really gorgeous earrings. So I hope you enjoy making them, my friends. Let me know in the comments how you get along, what it is that you're going to make with them. Like I say, pop anything you like on these pretties. Wrap them like I've done, or indeed, you know, make a really, really pretty bracelet or necklace out of them. Okay, so I'll see you next week. I'm going to try and get videos out every Friday now. Now things have settled down at home slightly. So let's have fun every Friday, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.